Good morning, people of Holden and Dala. On this chilly weekend, as we gather, we hear from the Gospel of Luke in the 7th chapter. After Jesus had finished all his sayings in the hearing of the people, he entered Capernaum. A centurion there had a slave whom he valued highly and who was ill and close to death. When he heard about Jesus, he sent some Jewish elders to him, asking him to come and heal his slave. When they came to Jesus, they appealed to him earnestly, saying, "He is worthy of having you do this for him, for he loves our people, and it is he who built our synagogue for us." And Jesus went with them. But when he was not far from the house, the centurion sent friends to say to him, "Lord, do not trouble yourself, for I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. Therefore I did not presume to come to you. But only speak the word, and let my servant be healed. For I also am a man set under authority, with soldiers under me. And I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to another, 'Come,' and he comes. And to my slave, 'Do this,' and the slave does it." When Jesus heard that, he was amazed at him, and turning to the crowd that followed him, said, "I tell you, not even in Israel have I found such faith." When those who had been sent returned to the house, they found the slave in good health. Soon afterwards, Jesus went to a town called Nain, and his disciples and a large crowd went with him. As he approached the gate of the town, a man who had died was being carried out. He was his mother's only son, and she was a widow. And with her was a large crowd from the town. When the Lord saw her, he had compassion for her, and he said to her, "Do not weep." Then he came forward and touched the funeral pyre, and the bearers stood still. And he said, "Young man, I say to you, rise." The dead man stood up and began to speak, and Jesus gave him to his mother. Fear seized all of them, and they glorified God, saying, "A great prophet has risen among us, and God has looked favorably on his people." This word about him spread throughout all of Judea and the surrounding country. Many of us are familiar with the song, "You Raise Me Up," that's been made popular by Josh Groban and several other singers. In fact, at worship last Sunday, Tara Haugen sang it for us at worship. It has become a favorite for countless people because of its beautiful, soaring, melodic melody, being paired with powerful images that inspire us. Originally, this song had been written just to be an instrumental piece of music, to be played by a Norwegian and Irish music group called Secret Garden. But then, words were added to the song, making it the well-known and loved song that we know today. It's a song that speaks of hope and comfort and faith when we need it most. The words say, "When I am down and oh, my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be." As I read and reflected on today's gospel reading, Jesus' words to the young man kept connecting me to this song. "Young man, I say to you, rise." In our reading this morning, we hear about Jesus performing two miracles, one a healing miracle and one a resurrection miracle. He performs these miracles in two separate towns on his travels. First, he performs the healing miracle for the slave of a Roman centurion in the town of Capernaum. And then Jesus travels to the town of Nain, where he raises a man from the dead. Luke's gospel tells us that as Jesus and his disciples and a large crowd are approaching the gate of the town, a man who had died was being carried out in funeral procession. Jesus and his followers had not yet entered the town. They were still outside the gate, as they saw this funeral procession leaving. The young man, we are told, was his mother's only son, and she was a widow. In Jesus' day, this would have left her in a very vulnerable and risky place, with no husband, no sons to provide for her. When Jesus saw her, he had compassion on her, and he said to her, "Do not weep." Then Jesus turned his attention to the young man. He went forward and he touched the bier that was carrying the young man's body, and he spoke to the lifeless man. "Young man, I say to you, rise up." To everyone's amazement, the dead man did sit up, and he began to speak, and Jesus returned him to his mother. This led the crowds glorifying God and saying, "A great prophet has risen among us, and God has looked favorably on his people." Then word began to spread about Jesus through the towns and countryside. This miracle of the raising of the widow's son is only found in this gospel, in Luke's gospel. Luke, who was thought to be a doctor or physician. The Gospels, though, do record three separate miracles of Jesus raising people from the dead, including this story of the raising of the widow's son, the story of Jairus' daughter, who Jesus also raises from the dead, and the raising of Lazarus from the tomb. Each of these resurrection miracles is unique from the others. When Christ raises Jairus' daughter to new life, she's still in the bed where she had died only a few hours earlier. The widow's son lies in an open coffin on his way to his grave when Jesus performs the miracle. Finally, Lazarus is in the tomb, in the grave already dead for 4 days, by the time Jesus arrives and raises him to new life. Yet there is one similarity between all these resurrection miracles. Jesus speaks to each person and calls them to their new, restored life. In our gospel reading today, Jesus says to the young man, "Young man, I say to you, rise." When he raises Jairus' daughter from the dead, he says, "Talitha koum," little girl, get up. When he stands outside Lazarus' tomb and has the stone rolled out of his way, he proclaims, "Lazarus, come out." Jesus' words bring new life in these resurrection miracles, and Jesus brings new life to you and to me. Jesus speaks to us in those moments when we feel weighed down by burdens and worries, and he says to us, "Rise." Jesus speaks to us when we would prefer to stay hidden in our own grief and regrets, and he says to us, "Come out." Jesus speaks to us when we are tired and disappointed, and he says to us, "Get up." Just like Jesus met this young man and Jairus' daughter and Lazarus right where they were, on the funeral bier, in their home, in the grave, Jesus comes right to you and me, where we are, and he gives us new life. He speaks to us. He restores our life. He is present with us. This morning's gospel and these other resurrection miracles remind me that no matter where we are, no matter how tired or how in pain or in grief or how lifeless we feel, Jesus comes to you and to me and all his people, and he speaks to us and he calls us to new life, saying, "Rise, get up, come out," and we find our new life in him. Amen.